We are
Welcome
live.
to another episode of
Made it.
Another Cars podcast with me, as always, Courtney and Jason. And today, joining the podcast officially for the first time, Anthony, the DriverMod. What's up, guys?
Thank you for having
Welcome.
me.
What's up? What's
to the
up?
pod.
Welcome,
Pleasure to
Anthony.
be here.
Don't embarrass
So,
us.
first guest of the pod is going to be a little bit different that we're used to, since we're not used to having a guest. But we didn't save the best for last. We saved the best for first. And
We'll see what
let's
the
let's get it going, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who wants
Anthony,
to
real
start?
quick. I want to ask Anthony. Anthony, tell us a little bit about yourself for the viewers that don't know who you are. Okay, real quick. Elevator pitch. You're in the back of a taxi. Who are you? No more than 1 minute.
No more than 1 minute. All right, my name's Anthony. I'm here in Florida. I have a GT350. That's my pride and joy. It's currently down for, you guessed it, an engine problem. Pretty much pulled it apart myself. I try and do everything myself, and on the channel, it focuses on not only driving your car, but also doing the repairs and modifications yourself. So DriverMod kind of goes together. I'm a huge motorsports enthusiast, mostly sports car racing, karting, and I've started to get into Formula One lately. Let's see. Yeah, that's it. We'll go with
Ladies
that.
and gentlemen, welcome.
He is.
Shameless plug to his YouTube channel. If the driver mod.
The
So,
DriverMod. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
we'll
driver
link
mod.
it. We'll link it
It's-
in the video or any of that.
Sure
It wasn't
thing.
always the DriverMod. That name was kind of like, enough people said it towards me, and I was like, that's a great name. Let me see if that's taken. And somehow it wasn't. So
What was the original name?
it was just AB's Garage.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I think I knew you back then. That was a long time ago.
Long time ago.
Wow.
Yeah, if you go back and watch like my first 10 GT350 maintenance videos, it's all that.
AB Garage.
Yeah, just my initials.
Oh,
Nothing. Tons of thought put into that.
Yeah, I'll be darned.
Awesome. Okay, so who's taking the floor first? I know we wanted to talk about the Corvette plant shutting down for a couple weeks. That's relatively interesting. Obviously, having Anthony on, we got to talk about the GT350, and I know that he's shared on his channel that he has an allocation for a GTD. We've had at least 3 episodes where we've done nothing but bash the GTD for its price and everything else. So
We've talked
let's-
We've talked a lot of GTD shit here, mainly because we're jealous.
Yeah.
yeah,
We're
that's
slow.
the
We're
main
all
reason.
slow. Okay.
And slow.
They
we'd
say
like to hear-
misery loves company, so
We'd
here
like to
we
hear
are.
your rebuttal on all of that.
And I've pretty
I
much
have
talked to each one of you individually about the car specifically, and well,
But so
Watch.
first,
Sh-
actually, before I lose my train of thought,
share whatever you're comfortable with on this channel. I have an update on my car. Future
Ooh.
plans for me. It's not real good. I'm just trying to make it sound exciting, But yeah, that's it.
I'm excited. And I drove a Z06 since the last episode. We've got lots to
Yeah.
talk about.
Let's
we
let's
Okay,
keep
so
it.
about.
let me get my spiel out of the way because last week was phenomenal for me.
All right.
I ended up going to Atlanta Motorsports Park to be the official pace car driver or safety cars driver for Racing Prodigy.
Now, how did that
And-
go? I don't think you just answered a Facebook ad, right? I mean, how did you
No,
get
no,
that
no, no,
gig?
no. So one of my friends is a team manager for one of the teams. And in conversation one day, I just told him I want to come to one of the events, and he said, "Well, let me talk to Jimmy, who's the guy that does all the commercial stuff, and see if there's anything for you." So I sent him my racing CV, basically, just my experience and everything that I've done. And they said, "Hey, would you like to be the pace car?" And I said, "Okay. What does it entail?" And so a couple of days later, the dude called me, and we made a deal. Because the last person who'd done it did it for free, and I was like, "Well, I love cars and I love racing, but I'm not doing it for free."
Mhm.
And they're like, "Okay, well, this is what we can pay you." And it's one of those things that I terribly negotiated because I'm sure if I would have asked for more, I would have got more. Because when they told me what they were getting me, I was like, done.
Can you
so I'm
can you
sure-
tell us what? Can you
Yeah,
tell
how
us what
much
that was?
did you make?
Or is
So
is this under
I got
NDA?
70 cents
Yeah.
per mile. I got 70 cents per mile and $500 a day.
Dang.
It covers your
That's-
expenses. Like you're not
Yeah.
you're not getting rich from
Well,
that.
they
but it
gave
covers
my
your expenses.
they pay for my hotel, they pay for my food. It
Oh.
basically cost me nothing.
What
Dang,
about your
plus-
what
here's
about
the
your
rub.
fuel? Did they pay for the fuel?
That's
is
where
that
the
it?
mileage comes in. So the
Okay.
70 cents per mile is for the fuel.
And how many
Um,
transmissions did you go through during this weekend?
0. The car was flawless.
Okay.
Absolutely flawless.
Here's the Chevy.
And is that
Drove
mileage
to
to
Atlanta
and
and all
from
the
the
way back.
track
And what's
and
that?
on the track? Was that mileage to and from the track and on the track, or once you're there?
Yes. So my total mileage was 1,021 miles.
Okay.
And that was from my front door to the track, the laps I did on track, and then back to my front door.
Okay. Okay.
So like at 70 cents a mile, it came out to like 780 some bucks, and then the $500 a
Man,
day plus my meals plus my hotel.
I got
So
a
let me ask, did
200,000
the
mile.
fact that you have the new Corvette, was that the reason they brought you, or could you drove anything, you think?
So that's a great question. It's a two-part answer. Originally, yes, because it's for TV. They're filming this whole Drive to Survive thing with that series, so they needed to look good on camera. Um, but after, and I'll get to my future with the series. But so I got there day one, and my first job was to drive people around at lunchtime. Like they had some VIPs and some investors that they wanted to show a good time. So I did that during lunch day one. That was like about my involvement. But I guess I did such a good job that at the after party in day one, which is like practice and qualifying, I met with the lead investor and with the third investor, because I guess they go by like tiers, like the amount of money you put into the series. And they just loved me. They just said, "Hey, would you consider doing this full time? Like not full time, but like for the length of the series." And I was like, "Well, what would that entail? And you guys haven't even seen me do the actual job." And so they said, "Okay, that's a fair point. Let's talk tomorrow." So then the next day, I worked all day. There were 8 races, so obviously every race starts behind me. It's 2 laps behind the pace car, and plus any deployments, like if there was accident on track. There was there were accidents on every race but one. So I was super busy. Race directors in your ear telling you safety car, go at this speed or deploy, whatever. It was amazing. At lunch, same thing, driving people around. I wasn't allowed to go full throttle, but because during lunchtime the marshals take a break, so there's no marshals on track, so you can't like go all out. But I still got to go at a good pace and show people a good time. And afterwards, they basically said, "Hey, we understand that you won't be able to take your car to every race, so instead we're gonna fly you out and we'll have a safety car for you to drive at the races in which you don't take your car." So that was it. And yep, that's Racing Prodigy, and the clip that Jason is playing. To start with my car leading the pack. This was the second to last race. There was an incident with a lap to go.
There it is.
And so they deployed me. I collected the field, and then I had to bring him through the pits and wait for the incident to get cleared out. And then they called it what's going into overtime, and then the race finished in overtime.
So they had to put some lights on the top of your car, huh?
Yep. So there's these suction cups, and then you just and that's the cool part. So they have these suction cups, and they did some painter's tape on the top of the car, and it plugs into the cigarette lighter. But I have to control the lights because the drivers know what to do based on the safety car lights. So when I drove them through the pits, my safety car lights were on. So when they're behind me and I keep them on and I go into the pits, that means you need to follow the pace car into the pits. So say with 3 turns to go, the race director will come in my ear and say, "Pace car lights off." So I turn them off so that they know track's going green, and then he'll come and tell me you need to lose the pack. So then that's when I get to have fun because I gotta break away from them, and then two to three turns from the start finish line. They're warming up the tires, they're juggling per position, and then they get to go.
Now,
And
how much faster are these cars than your car?
so let me put it into perspective. Qualifying did at 20.8. The fastest lap I believe was at 120.8. I think my car is probably like a mid between a 24 and a 27 because again I never got to do a full lap, but when you look at like comparable times of like the people that I know that I've raced with, Nissan GTRs and Corvettes and GT350s, because these cars are all pretty much the same. And these cars are on they're on street tires. It's 200 thread wear tires, so they're like a Hankook Venus RS4 I think they have. And that was still about 4 or 5 seconds faster a lap than my car.
So not that much faster. Haven't I seen like pace cars crashing while they're leading the pack?
Yeah, so
There's
that
some famous
happened at
Corvettes that run it
Belle
up
in
in
IndyCar.
Detroit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was a Corvette also?
Yeah.
It was a C7 Corvette, yes.
Now,
So-
I mean, but
and
you're not driving 9/10 out there. How fast?
Well, it depends. So it depends. So for the first 2 races, or for the first 3 races in the morning, because it was so cold, it was like 50 degrees how when the races started, that they would deploy me and hold the field in the pits. so that there was enough gap between me and them that they would have time to warm up their tires by the time they cut the pace car. And then,
Oh.
so at that point, the race director would come in my ear and say, okay, increase your speed to this, because I can't go above what he tells me.
Yeah.
And then say we were getting too quickly, or the drivers were still complaining about driver temp to their crews or whatever, then he would say, 40 minus 5. I don't know what he wouldn't just say 35, but I guess it sounds cooler. And then he would the fastest he had me go, like on my own accord, was 70, unless he told me to lose the pack. So if he told me to lose the pack, that meant drop a gear, get away from them, do whatever you need to do. And but then, like, when I get deployed for an accident, like, so say he would say keep it at 50, and then as I was approaching the scene of the accident, he would say, safety car, you're approaching the accident, slow it down. And so I would go like 10 miles an hour through the accident, and then he would come over, it's like, okay, safety car, speed up to 60.
Did you have a
And
passenger with you, or was it just you?
I had a passenger with me in every session but one, because they used the time to have the VIPs to be around and stuff like that.
How long are these races?
20 minutes.
So you're just sitting in your car?
I'm just sitting in my car in the pit lane, idling. Well, I had the car off to save fuel, but the minute something
the activation that loves to idle,
it does it at 20 minutes. But so what happens is, so there was one instance in which I looked ahead and I could see the yellow flag being waved at turn 1, so I knew I was gonna get deployed. So I started the car, put it in gear, and by the time the race director came and said, safety car, deploy, I was ready. Like, it looked so good on TV. And so, but the day didn't end there, guys. So I don't know if I've shared with the race series, but Catherine Legg and Tatiana Calderon, they're pro drivers, IMSA drivers. Tatiana Calderon got to be a development driver for F1. Right, and so we knew each other from different things, but she's from Colombia. But
yeah, she's Catherine one of the ones that signed your thing, Courtney.
Yeah. Catherine Legg, she's my friend's driver coach, and she had to leave early. So after my work day was done, but one race, I think there was one race left, my phone rings and Seb goes, get upstairs, I need you to get to makeup. And I was like, what? And it's like, hurry up. And I was like, okay. So I just ran upstairs. They sit in a chair. The lady's like, doing stuff to my face for light purposes. They give me a jacket with the Racing Prodigy logo, and I had to sit because after the last race of the day between the teams, each team had to drop a driver because each team had 4 drivers. And then those 8 drivers that got dropped would compete in like a shootout to like save a place in what they call the practice squad. And so they had to film them like deliberating and talking to somebody, and everybody had somebody to talk to except my friend because Catherine left early. So then I'm going to be in one of the episodes. I don't know which episode it'll be, but cool. Then they basically record them cutting the driver, and then they do like, if say my friend's team dropped the driver but somebody else didn't, then they would do another round of like, okay, they would have to drop an extra driver to pick up the driver that my friend dropped, et cetera, and that was a lot of fun to just be on camera, and I'll be on TV. The series premiered last night on Mav TV, and it'll be like new episode every Sunday at 9 p.m. So I'm probably gonna be in like episode like 4 or 5 because they just premiered.
Well, it's a good thing you've had all this podcast experience, to get used to being in front of a camera.
Well, so the funny thing is so they sat me down, they prepped me, and then they were gonna take me out because they're like, this is supposed to be like a series, and the audience doesn't know you, and it's just gonna be weird for you to just show up all of a sudden. And I was like, okay, no problem. So I got up out of the chair and I left. And then they came back and like, no, sit back down. I was like, okay. So they sat me back down. And then they just had to write into the script how they were going to introduce me into the audience. And so I'm pretty sure it's going to be something like when Seb hands the card and said that he'd been deliberating with me. And then they're going to put like my name and title, like, like racing consultant or something under my name to add some context to the viewers. And then I went for the last race. What happened?
Mario Gomez, the author of the Book of Excuses.
The Book of Excuses, yes, sir. Hey, we might sell some copies after that. And then I went out and I did my my work as the last race, and then we went to dinner with the drivers, and then I took Seb to the airport, and then I drove 9 hours by myself home, basically.
Yeah, that's
or
very
8
cool.
hours, but
there was a group of radicals that reached out to me to come to the last track day, but they didn't want to. They wanted a whole group to themselves, and they didn't essentially. The way they worded it was, these cars are really cool. They'll draw a lot of people. We don't want to pay for the spots. And I'm like, I appreciate that, but at the same time, like, that's not how this is going to work. I can't do 8 cars, just because you think it's cool. It might draw people. I mean, it rained.
They're
Who knows
cool,
if they would
but
have backed out and.
So you got beginner, intermediate, advanced, and then radical class.
Yeah,
Yeah.
essentially
Next
that's
cars
what
are
they
copy.
wanted.
Imagine.
Sorry, man. I can't do free. Can you pay $100 a car? Like, I'll meet you there and at least cover costs. But yeah, they are pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah, I got to sit in one of them, and I think there may be a race in which they have. I think there's a Radical SR8, which is like a 2-seater. In a couple of the races, that might be the car that I drive. So like I can bring somebody with
wow.
me, and yeah.
and they
And
had
that's
one
the
of
one
those
that
at
did,
Circuit
like-
Florida when I went there for a little track thing.
I'll
that's-
take a second to say that track AMP, Atlanta Motorsports Park, phenomenal. The facilities. I mean, there's showers, locker rooms, trainer, like
They
a
do
driver
karting
trainer
down there
rooms.
too.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
it's
Do they? Can we do an open track day?
they do open track days there. With I think Just Track It does a track day there, and there
How much is it to
somebody
rent?
else. I can probably get you in touch with someone. I met the
That'd be
owner of the
awesome.
track, so it's
Wow.
hilarious. Like the owner, he's like one of those like I do whatever I want is my track. So he's walking around the track where there's like fuel and everything, just smoking a cigar, and then later in the day he had like a GMC like Denali, whatever those big trucks are called, and there is a burnout pad, and he was out doing burnouts on his track with his truck. Like the guy is just crazy. They have condos and garages, and there was a guy there at his condo, and he had the garage open. He had like a Viper and a McLaren and a Lift. Like it's just wild stuff that you see
Nice.
there.
Yeah, they have.
And then
You can
the
get
store,
memberships there.
the store has like race suits, helmets, like everything that you can have
So
at a
it
track.
sounds
Like
like it's like a motor enclave, but it's open to the public essentially.
it, pretty much.
Okay, well that's cool. I wish Motor Enclave and Circuit Florida would do that. But they are raking these guys over the coals for so much money. They don't need to do that. So,
But what we've got to ask ourselves is how close is it close to any airports, Mario? Do we have can it get cut in half?
I mean, it's on the
No,
north side of Atlanta.
The Atlanta airport was an hour away.
Oh,
So
okay.
they're safe. Okay, they're safe.
Oh,
Now that's a great segue to ask
Ah.
Anthony about what happened with his track day, because we mentioned it
Oh,
in the
yeah.
last episode when we talked about the firm.
Mm.
Since then, they've sent some emails saying that they've gotten some legal counsel and stuff. So what can you tell us, Anthony, as far as how your track day went? Was it a success? How did it do in comparison to the other track days that you've hosted at the firm? And what can you tell us about what Carson Canards look like at the firm going forward?
all right. Well, I definitely will say everybody that left there, the car left in the condition that it arrived in. So that's always a positive. It was wet.
Fantastic.
So that's another positive. And everyone became a better driver for it. I think 8 of the 14 drivers, it was their first time tracking in the wet. So now
Short
they're
little
all,
track that's a good track for them then.
we did, if anyone's, I'm sure as far as the firm layout, we did the short course, which is essentially about, what would you say, like a mile, maybe?
If that,
Or yeah, maybe 8 or 9/10 of a mile. In the morning,
my living room is bigger
we
than
did the
that.
shoebox, so that was
cool.
nice considering that was with the wettest part of the day. So you weren't getting up to crazy high speeds, but learning how to control the car and and focus on your throttle and brake to turn the car versus the steering wheel. The Miata guy that I was instructing, he took to it really well. I could tell he had like sim racing experience, and that translated over to that. And then in the afternoon, we did the straightaway. We got rid of the shoebox, and honestly, everyone said they wanted to go back to the shoebox. So moving forward, depending on what happens with the thing is ongoing, we don't know when the layout is going to be restored, if it's going to be restored, and to what degree. The next track day has the potential to go back to the full layout, or it could be what we did again. And if that's being the case, we might try and run it backwards with the shoebox and then the regular way with the shoebox. Because it seems like everyone wanted the shoebox, but I think that might have been more because it was wet. In the dry, it'll probably be a nice mix to go backwards with the shoebox and then backwards with the straightaway. As far as so in that aspect, it did go well, but in terms of attendance, it definitely was about half the attendance that I get on a minimum. So it definitely wasn't a huge crowd, but everyone had a good time. So
definitely good when they give you some great deal for what do you pay? Are you comfortable saying that for your annual pass?
Well, so I didn't really get a deal. I paid when you paid, and so that was before all this came out, and so I just paid the normal rate for the whole year. And
you comfortable saying what that was for the dealer track pass?
$10,000.
Yeah, 10K. I paid $2,500, and that's under you get unlimited track days, which makes sense
in the sense that I can host up to one event a week. It has to be on a Monday through Friday, and then every event there's a $500 staff fee. So for this past one, I think because of the attendance thing, and I kind of voiced it to my perspective prior to that, I was like, hey, I've only got like 10 people signed up at this point. I'm not going to cancel this one, but I would probably want to just postpone the rest of my events and just charge me as a single track day, refund me the difference, and we'll go from there. But essentially, they didn't charge me the staffing fee. So we'll just kind of see, because the situation, like I said, has the potential to go back to the full track as early as the next track day, or it might be one more. It's
when is your next track day scheduled?
April 1st.
April
Tuesday. April Fool's
less than a month away. Everyone, get your notifications in. Yeah.
But
real quick, and we'll put this in the description. Anthony, if anybody was interested in registering for your next track day, how can they find out?
They can either go to Cars and Canards on Instagram. It's just Cars and Canards, or you can email me at carsandcanards@gmail.com, and I'll take it from there.
Heard it here first.
If you mention the podcast, I'll give you 10% off. How about
that?
Hey, I like that. We all win.
So both of you,
I just want to get people out there. It's not the whole idea with Cars and Canards was to get over that hump of the initial upfront cost of a track day. A lot of track days are $300-400, which can deter a lot of people from ever even trying it. At least with this, the base price right now is $175. That could change if the track becomes fully open again. Might have to adjust the pricing. If it stays the way it is, then the price is what it is. But that was the main thing behind it, was just to get more people out there, because that is a huge hurdle, is the cost up front.
Yeah.
Now, I'll take a second to mention the McLaren and Lamborghini Jason and Courtney that I sent you guys was somebody who I helped sign up for Cars and Canards, and I installed his Garmin in the McLaren.
Yeah.
And he was very scared. He didn't know, he's done one track day in his life before.
He was flooring that thing down the straightaway in the wet as me as a passenger, and the whole quarter of his windshield is covered in the Garmin and a camera. No, well, I can't even see where we're I had the POV camera on the sunglasses I got, and I'm having to look around the stuff. Man, you need to focus on driving and not worry about your lap times right now. It's wet out. Just try. I don't want this car.
I tried to tell him, but he wouldn't listen. People with money a lot of times don't listen.
I was impressed how well that car hooked up, at least in a straight line, on those Goodyear Supercar 3Rs.
Oh wow!
It had on it, right?
No, it had Pirelli the Trofeo Rs.
Trofeo, still an R compound tire. It hooked up really well in a straight line. I was impressed. The thing didn't even jut out. It was just go. But awesome. He was definitely coasting, we'll say.
Mario, did you drive any of these cars?
No. When I got to his house, the McLaren was already on the trailer, ready to go, and then this one was behind the trailer, so he couldn't move it. But he said at the next event he wanted me to take a stab at it and see how it went. So we'll be out on track with these cars.
And so, you were in those cars. Did they feel any cooler than your car?
Certainly. So, the McLaren. So it's the 620R. Basically, it's fully ready to be like a track car. And the bucket seats were the most uncomfortable thing I've ever sat in my life. Those right there. They're fixed. You can't move, and so getting on is incredibly uncomfortable. But once you're in place, I didn't record a video when I sat on the driver's side, but it felt great. The paddles, they're carbon, they feel super crisp. And then in the
What
Lambo,
about Apple CarPlay? You got Apple CarPlay over here?
it has Apple CarPlay. It does.
Okay.
Oh, so it
Um,
adds weight. Get it out of here.
yeah, and then in the Lambo, I wasn't playing like we were going into his house and we walked by it and he's like, get in. I was like, okay. And then he hands me the key. I was like, okay. And I started and you know, I'm a respectful guy. I wanted to rev it, but it was cold and I I shut it off and I got out. I take care of people's stuff, so I'm sure I'll get my chance at it. But
What Lamborghini was that? Huracan what?
it's a Huracan,
Performante
something.
STO.
No, it's not an STO. It's not
Not the Performante. It's
So this thing's already set up for a 5-point, huh?
yeah,
Is that what this is? Yeah.
yeah. And it's, the McLaren is the same.
I will say you get into
It's
these
a
cars.
Huracan Technica. That's what it's called.
Oh, okay. Got it. I
Yeah.
will say getting into the I've been in a Performante, I've been in a McLaren 720 and that 620R. You really feel like you're getting into you have to climb up over the carbon body essentially to get into it, and then once you're in it, you feel like you're almost getting into a really, really powerful go-kart. Just you feel you're sitting level with the tires. It's kind of like that perspective you get with the S2000, how you feel like your head's on level with the top of the tires. You get that feel to it.
Yeah, this guy, he also has he has a couple of cool cars. So he has those two. He has an R8. He has C8, and I don't know if it's like a Drift 350Z. I don't know where the 350Z fits into all these cars, but he has one. And a couple of trucks. So, he's a cool car guy. We met through WhatsApp, I think, and then
What does he do for a living?
he owns an electrical company, I believe.
So the moral of
Just
the
one of his
story,
trucks is like fully wrapped with like an electrical services. I assume that's his
moral of the
business.
story, shameless plug. If you want to become wealthy, you do not do that working for someone else. You do that owning your own business. So that is the moral of the story. Carry on.
Yeah, that's true words that are being spoken.
I wasn't talking about me, Jason. I was not talking
No,
about me.
I'm saying I'm
He's-
poor. I'm poor in this
He's
company. I'm the poor one.
He's taking shots at me. There's more to that conversation.
I've been telling Mario to do consulting forever, but
Yeah.
Instead, I work from.
And I just had this
Tried to tell me to do it as well.
I just had this conversation with Anthony. So anybody who's listening, you want to talk business, hit me up. We
I
should do.
want to talk business, but you don't answer the phone.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm busy.
Out of the four of us here, there's only one person buying a $350,000 car, and that's Anthony.
No,
That is true. Let's segue. What's up with the GTD?
What
There's
is
a
up
little
with
GTD.
Th-
Wow,
th-
that was a
it
great
looks-
segue, Jason.
It looks like they would give an allocation to anybody that had any sort of social media following. I only had 10,000 subscribers at the time, so not a huge, not like a huge channel by any means, not a huge personality. But in the Mustang
I'd
niche,
agree.
I would
agree
say
with the
I'm
personality
fairly
thing.
well known and versed, and they definitely didn't do any sort of background checks on me specifically. They probably just saw my 60-second video and was like, "Yep, he meets the minimum criteria. We like his personality." Because if they were to look back at any of my social media content and the stuff that I trash about the Dark Horse, and I'm not going to be bought. I'm going to tell you how it is and what I think about something, and frankly, they just, yeah. So, and they definitely could. If you can't tell that I don't come from wealth, I mean, I have a 206,000 mile Ford Fusion and a 190,000 mile 05 truck. I'm not the person that can afford it. I would be the person that would drive it and appreciate it, but I'm not the person that can afford it.
So what
Things
do you?
change.
What,
Maybe
what
they're
are you telling
hoping,
us?
he'll figure out a way or something. But
Have you figured out a way?
oh man,
What are you telling us, Anthony?
I mean, right. If my allocation window came up today, see ya. What?
Man,
I feel like Ford thinks they're gonna get away with it because by the masses, there's always going to be somebody that will fork over the cash for it. so they don't their hands aren't tied behind their back in that way. They can set the price at whatever it is, and as long as they're not making 5, 10, 20,000 of these, then it's not going to look like a silly thing to invest in. I don't think this car will do as well as the Ford GT. Mainly, I mean, the Rolex 24 win helps and the Nürburgring time helps, but other than that, the Mustang hasn't done anything race pedigree wise like the Ford GT has. And it's got the Mustang name attached to it, and that will probably forever, unless they like win the championship this year and like win half the races or something. But BOP's not going to allow that. Mustang needs to win Le Mans this year to kind of break through.
When do you think you're going to get this call saying, "Hey, you ready"?
Oh no, I already know. My engagement window will happen as early as February next year and as late as July. Based on all the guys that just went through the allocation process, they submitted their orders in January. They've been told that their cars will be delivered in 5 to 6 months. So
financially, in 12 to 15, 16 months, what do you have to do?
I need to save up 50% of the car, which if you get a base car, no options, standard paint, no stripes, nothing, is $160,000. And
what's the fun? Like, if you're doing this car, like, why would you do the base? Like, come on, you got to get some carbon.
But they talked options, like what's going to be like
the reason
an option.
You would do the base is how many people are going to just get the base car. It might be as limited as the Spirit of America Heritage Edition that they're coming out with, which you cannot, to my understanding, change anything about it. It is what it is. It only comes in white. It only comes with those pinstripes. It only comes with the red end plates and mirrors and the Mustang on the wing. You cannot change that.
So is that like a trim of the GT?
It is the highest. It's the heritage trim of the GTD. Now, I mean, they're taking that thing back to the ring for a reason. I know they think they can go faster. How much faster? Maybe my original time estimate of 649, 652 will be right in line with what I predicted it would do. And maybe they'll come out with some sort of Nürburgring package or something. I don't think this is the end of it, but I do think the people that are in the allocation window now, they're what they're offered is all that there is right now. But I think there will be more down the road.
So back up a second. They said you need to come up with 160 when you go to build the car.
Yep. You can build it, and then to confirm that build, that's when the down payment's due.
Okay.
And I started the build process, and then dang it, I left my credit card at home.
You left the checkbook in the car?
Sorry, guys.
Been there, done that.
Okay, so then obviously the rest is due at.
It's up to you. It's up to you to figure out. I don't know if Ford will do financing on the. Let's say you get a base $160,000. Will they finance that? Will another bank finance it? Maybe.
So I remember when you first got your allocation, I told you about Premier Financial Services. Have you reached out to them?
I have reached out to a lot of places, and regardless if on paper we've gone over my income, they have no doubts that I would be able to make the payment, but because so much of my income is 1099, they will not. And what I claim on my tax return, obviously I write off stuff to not pay the tax on it. I track this all on a Excel sheet, so it's legitimate, but to not pay the tax on it, they view that as he doesn't make this. They look at your net, and because I write off so much it kind of backfires in this situation, as well as when I went to go buy this house, it backfired there as well. So it's great that I can show that, I make this. I just choose to write off this to not pay that, tax on it. I can not write this off, pay the tax on it. I still make the same money. So it's unfortunate, but it's life. And
so I think as Jason asked, the call comes. What's your plan?
Well, hopefully by then I found somebody that wants to. Shit, I don't even know if I can be saying this right now, But no,
don't get yourself in trouble.
I figure it out. We'll just
understood.
Go on. I don't lead too much.
I assume there are some people interested in allocation, right?
Oh, there are several.
Yeah.
Have you been offered money for your allocation?
Yes, I'll say that.
Can you tell us a number you've been offered for your allocation?
I don't know if I want to do that right now.
Fair enough.
It's
Let's do this. High or low? Higher than 10 grand for the allocation? Have you been
oh,
offered?
absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
I'll just say I wouldn't even begin chats for less than like 50 at this point.
But you can't even pay for the car, so why not take 50 and call it a interesting
Because
scam that you got yourself into?
as it comes up, obviously people are impatient. They'd be like, your allocation window's in 60 days. I only gotta wait 60 days to put it in this order, and the car's going to be in my driveway 5 months later. I mean, if they think it's going to be a smart investment tool, I personally don't think it will be as good as the GT. Will it hold its value? Probably, but it's not going to double in value like the GT did, or triple in value like the last gen GT did. Or
My advice to you is sell that allocation before the ZR1 goes to the Nürburgring.
I don't disagree with that, but at the same time, the GTD is going back for a reason, and regardless of which one does the higher, unless one beats it by, whatever the second time the GTD goes back for, and whatever the time that the ZR1 does, as long as they're within, I'd probably say the ZR1 would have to beat the GTD by, say, 2 seconds.
That would be a good margin.
Hey, Courtney, you're the finance guy. I got a question. Hold on. Courtney, you're the finance guy. Would you rather start a business running an OnlyFans account or tricking companies into giving you allocations and then flipping them on the black market?
Well, my moral obligations tell me no OnlyFans.
Wow.
But I think that flipping allocations is frowned upon and gets you blacklisted, borderline illegal.
Yeah,
so
who knows? Like, do I really want to go down that route and potentially lose out on future vehicles? Like, if I don't know who I've told in here, but I think a Ford Mustang GT3 street car is coming. I think that's going to happen probably halfway through the GT life cycle, and then the guys that didn't or couldn't afford the GTD, well, now here's a Mustang GT3 street car, doesn't require 50% down. Yeah, it's going to start out at 110, 120 grand maybe, but that might be an alternative, and I would love something like that. So yeah, you don't know what could happen in the future, and if I keep applying for these cars, getting approved, and then not getting them, or I could kind of be the pimp, if you will, like get the allocation. Hey, who wants it? Who wants it? Like, like discreetly, of course, but
yeah, discreetly enough is putting it on a podcast.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, viewership is up again, so
yeah, it didn't matter a couple weeks ago when 12 people were watching it, but now we're on the upswing, Anthony.
And after seeing it in person, I told Jason this: the interior, not sold on it. It's too plain. It's not. I don't even need, not even like the screens. Just go back to more track focused. Like a track focused car has like a nice
GT3 RS
display
any day of the week.
Does it have Apple CarPlay, Anthony?
I have no idea.
It probably does.
I'm sure it does.
I'm sure it
it's
does.
The same unit as probably in my car.
And if it struggles to start up the way the S650 GT that I have does, well, what can you expect?
You're used to it. Yeah.
That technology is
laid out.
Yeah.
Courtney, you've got a Mustang that's we haven't heard from in a while.
Yeah. So Mustang, you haven't heard from a while. The Shop RPG race engines. I talked to them a couple times. They said, hey, we're going to have it done at the end of February. It may bleed into the first week of March. I read that as the second week of March, just because my expectations with this whole entire section of the world have been completely and utterly shattered over the past several blah, blah, blah. So I sent them an email today saying, hey, heard from you. The engine would be done at the end of February, first week of March. It is now the first week of March. Can you please provide a status update? And I expect it to be shipped back this week. So
they actually commented on one of my videos because I left a comment. I was like, the reason I didn't go with RPG is it can take 6 months to a year. And they actually one of the GT350 videos of mine blowing up. If you go look at the comments, they're in there. And I said, well, due to personal or secondhand experience, like I'm not just saying this to talk down on someone. I just would rather give the expectation of, hey, it's going to be 6 months to a year. And they're like, well, it depends on the customer's build and yada, yada, yada. We build over 100 Voodoos a year, and I get that. But I know.
Anywho, so if they hold their part of the promise up, the engine should be on a truck back. I'm not expecting it this week just because. So by the end of next week, did talk to the shop owner, actually went there. Had some challenges with him, but I think we're at a decent, stable place for finishing up at least. We get the engine back in. And the clutch, which got from Anthony. Anybody watching this needs a Vengeance clutch. The DriverMod is your man to do that. I have a beautiful Stage 2 that's going to be going in the track build.
That Stage 2 is about to be out of warranty, if I'm not mistaken. It's yeah,
I'm not too fucking worried about it. But get that rocking and rolling, and then I will drop the engine in, clutch, doing some suspension things. What else is he doing right now?
You said you were going to do headers and tune, E85,
yeah, okay,
all that.
So the exhaust, apparently all race exhaust is made to order. So I called American Racing Headers. I said, hey, how long to get a full race exhaust? They said 6 to 8 weeks. So I'm like, this would have been great 6 to 8 weeks ago.
We better get it ordered now.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's probably when my car will be done. But and so then we decided, hey, let's just look for a set of headers because I want catless headers, right? Is the problem. And EPA
Seriously,
bullshit.
To Nick at Fast Performance down Norman Beach. He's got He's got stuff in the shop. Some of it might be new, some of it might be used, but
okay. So long story short, with the exhaust, that may be secondary. We may do engine, clutch, tune it, blah blah blah, and then do exhaust. I mean, GT350R exhaust is not bad.
No.
Like I think that would be fine to run, and then get the exhaust plan in Stage 2. I don't want to let my car sit in the shop for another 2 months while we're fucking with exhaust.
But also doing headers in the car versus out of the car.
I would pay the extra fee if it gets me on the track for an extra 2 months, you know?
Right. Hey, absolutely. Yeah.
So, but I hear you. Yeah. I'd rather do this all at once. So, this is another disappointing part of this build is if this was thought about or known before now, but what I'm done crying over spilled milk. Gallons and gallons and gallons of spilled milk.
Spoiled by now.
Yeah, it's pretty curdly.
But about the whole cow at that point, but
every track car is going to go through this because I just learned this, and I'm about to crush a lot of our. I would sure in terms of like a street car that's also very track capable. We would all probably put the Viper ACR very highly on our desirable list.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that white one that you've seen, I don't know if you've seen a reel that I made of it. I know the owner. I met him at Stewart's birthday a couple months ago, and we've talked back and forth. That car is on its 4th engine. He gets about 2,000 miles out of an engine before it needs rod bearings for the track use. He went through 0-40 the first 2 engines, and then he did 20 W50 on the last one, and they're $35,000 pop.
Yeah, the Sport ain't cheap. So, So what I'm part of my within the next 12 months plan, heard it here first, is buying a Porsche GT3 Cup car. I've kind of narrowed it down to that. So if you go to Racing Junk and look at GT3 Cups,
bring it up. Put it up on the screen, Courtney.
The cheap ones will probably need the heavy services done, but BGB Motorsports down in Daytona, they can
like something like this.
Woo!
Okay, it's the wrong color, but the right car. Yeah.
They all come stock silver. That's what they come in.
Yeah. So if we go to all kind of in the same. so somewhere in the twos, and
Okay, click on one of those. Click on it. Click on one. I don't care which one. So, I mean, is the $70,000 Radical faster than this car?
Oh, Columbus, Ohio, that's right. Depends on the track, but I would probably say that most tracks that we're going to go to, no.
No, the Radical is slower.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so if you
I would actually
if you take a stock S2000 versus a stock GT350, there's going to be tracks where the S2000 is going to hang with it or be faster. But if you take the GT350 to Daytona and the S2000 to Daytona, no chance.
Yeah, I mean, so if we look at Nürburgring times, okay, and I'm looking at 911 GT2 RS.
I think we should stop looking at Nürburgring times because we're never going to drive these cars at the Nürburgring.
I understand. I hear you, but that's where I see these cars benchmarked, right?
Yeah.
Well, but see if you can look one up on like Daytona or Sebring, tracks that we can go to.
The half lap at the firm. Okay, let's get it down to the nitty gritty. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm looking
what really matters here.
A 992 911 GT3 RS did a 644. A Radical SRI did a 645. So right there, and a GT3 Cup is going to go faster than a GT3 RS. I would freaking hope, right? So
depends on the year, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean equal years, it's going to go fast. So to answer the question, yes, it is faster than SR8. And also, Jason, when you get to that type of, if I was just chasing lap times, which kind of
you are, right? Kind of,
yeah, to a point, right? I would. There are a lot of avenues that I would go to be quicker.
And there's also cost associated with that. You might be able to get the same lap time for cheaper. I mean, that is a huge factor that you guys have brought up on the channel before. The cost to go the same speed, it's a lot cheap. That Radical is going to be a lot cheaper to go than that GT3 Cup will. So
sure.
But I just wants a Porsche.
But also,
you're buying a race car, but just buy a race car. Don't buy a street car that's got plexiglass windows and a roll cage. I mean, what if you just bought a race car? I don't know. I don't even know what they are.
What the 992 Cup car is. That's
not a street car.
Yeah, I know, but it's based on.
I know
the
what
car.
Jason's trying to say. I think Jason's saying go buy an open wheel race car.
I've thought about an F4 or an F3. The problem is if I had I've thought a lot about getting a Mustang GT4 car, right? Because I know I could take that down on a trailer to Core Motorsports. They could take care of me forever, right? Now, if I had with a Porsche Cup, where am I going to take? I don't know any Cup.
BGB Motorsports in Daytona.
Okay, so I'm going to listen to Anthony and take it there, right? But there's a lot of stuff that our friend John can do, right? But there's probably things that I'm going to have to go to. What is it again, Anthony?
BGB Motorsports.
There's probably a lot of it I have to go to BGB Motorsports and pay out the ass for and get this engine rebuilt and blah, blah, blah. But there is something to owning a Porsche Cup car and hearing them with the little deer on the steering wheel. And this is not a hobby that is making me money. It is going to be a spend money hobby for my entire life. And I don't know. There's just something about I made it driving a $250,000 Porsche on the track. So that's just my thing.
Yeah.
Speaking of spending money, Jason, tell us about the Z06. Hobby.
Yeah, go for it, Jason.
Oh, well, I don't want to spoil any surprises, but I have spent zero money so far. But I did recently drive the new C8 Z06, and a lot of you guys chimed in. I talked to Mario a lot, and then Anthony, and he called me. He's like, and I think he even commented on a video saying yeah, the car is incredible.
Can we even call it new though? It's been out for 2 years now.
Well, it's new to me, so it's new. Anyway, it's the best car I've ever driven. I don't know, hands down, it's the best car I've ever driven. It's expensive.
Tell us.
Well, it's high revving engine. That's very responsive. The transmission is very fast. The driving position, the sound of it, the linear power curve. It's everything I like in a car, just at the highest levels really that I've ever experienced. I've been in faster cars, like twin turbo Vipers or AMG GTRs. They're physically faster, but there's something about NA motors I think that are probably I like the most.
Mustang.
I have not. No, I've been in a go-kart, but
I
not
drove
a
a Radical on iRacing. It was a pain in the ass. So I wonder if that's like that in real life.
The way you drive certain cars, I'm learning this as well. The way you drive certain cars, you cannot drive them the same way as another car. The short or the narrow wheelbase on those cars, that's going to make them very unstable in certain conditions, but very.
You know what I could drive like a fucking Banshee was a 992 Porsche Cup. So
I found the same, and it's just that driving style that we've probably inherited over our years of driving the Mustang. You drive with all that weight. You're used to being able to plant the throttle and go because you have a lot of weight back there. Well, the Porsche takes that up to the next level because the engine's back there. So it's a driving style. Because I tried to drive a Miata and tried to drive it fast, and I was spinning out left and right.
Oh,
has anyone here driven a Porsche GT3?
No. Like a cup car or like a GT3 RS?
Street car. GT3.
I've driven a street car. Yeah, I've driven a street car.
Yeah.
And was it awesome?
Absolutely. Holy like
I didn't get to drive on track. I drove it on the street.
Again, NA, like it just that sound, the octave level, and I've been around as a passenger around Sebring one. The theater and excitement that you get, you could close your eyes and just it's heaven.
So it's not too easy.
Oh, it's on rails.
It's on rails.
So it is.
I was gonna say.
At least on the street, like it. Yeah.
Well,
Let me put it this way:
old guys that don't look like they have track experience who are just mobbing like very, very fast, and I'm wondering, is it take some of the thrill out?
It does. That's the biggest complaint against that car.
I would say the average person can go very fast in it, but to get to that extra 10%, you have to know how to drive it. Because you have to drive it in a different way.
We all have driven GT350s way faster than, dare I say, 85-90% of the people that own GT350s. Is that a fair comment? Right? So we know how to take that car to the extra level and get out of it what most people don't know that car can do. And I think that's true for a lot of cars. And you get to a GT3, a GT3 RS, or even these race cars we're talking about, that ceiling becomes higher for the limit that an average person can drive it. But that extra you have to unlock is something special. So I don't know. Should we listen to a clip of a GT3 RS?
I mean,
sure.
It's fresh in my head. My son was just driving Rexy at
Sebring. Do you hear a video?
I don't hear your video.
No.
Anyway, the way you have to drive those is just so different because there's no weight on the front. So when you brake, you have to, they call it like preload the front. You kind of have to like get the weight transferred and then hit the brake. You can't just one solid movement.
I mean, you should
because then the rear end
should do it with every mid-engine car.
Real lift. Well, the GT3s are rear engine.
Well, yeah, technically they're rear engine, just behind the rear axle. But the driving technique, and you're right, the driving technique with these varies a little. But what Porsche has been able to do with the inertia, with the engine being in the rear, it allows for a lot of rotation. And so, yes, you want some weight in the front end, but ultimately, at any car that you want to drive on the limit, you want to be turning the car with the brake, not with the steering wheel. This car, for most people, not in that 10%, let's say from people who drive it from 60 to 90%, this car would almost do that on its own and make people feel like, oh, I can get this car to swing around. But it's the people that can get the car to swing around that extra 10% that find all the lap time in those cars. And the biggest complaint with the Porsche, when you compare it to like a McLaren or a Lambo, is that those cars, like if you drive into that level, there's the danger, the excitement, the sound. The GT3 RS is like below them in the sense that it'll do those things. It might even do them better, but you don't get to feel the level of excitement unless you get into that threshold that Courtney's talking about, that 10%. And
I mean, if you mute them, yeah, but you can't beat that sound.
I mean,
no, I'm not saying that doesn't sound good. I'm saying in comparison to the other cars in their class, like the McLaren 720S and
all the Porsches look the same, and yeah, I get it. They don't have the same exotic look, but you're buying a precision weapon at that.
They are very, very good. Now, Jason, when you drove the Z06, when you parked it after driving it, did you say to yourself, I have to have this? Like, not that one in particular, because I know it's not the spec you wanted, but like, you had some questions which we spoke about in the last video. Did it answer them all?
I think it checks all the boxes for me. Yeah. I mean, am I running out and buying one? No. There's too many weird things in my life right now, variables. It's sort of in
Remove
my
that out of the
budget.
question. I'm speaking about like when you powered off the car, you were like, damn.
I could see the Z06 being the next car I buy.
Okay.
I'll say that. Yeah, I'll say that.
It's been the next car I wanted to buy for 2 years now.
Yeah, it's incredibly good. It's usable for pretty much anything I could think of. And it feels very special, you know, and I talked in the video, I do love that it's American. I love it. You know, that's the best car right now America makes. So, and I wonder, and I've said this before, but we go back to like the C6 or even the C7 to an extent. It's the Z06 that like becomes like the enthusiast loved car. Yep. You know, you want the best car you can buy for the money, C6 Z06. No one's buying the C6 ZR1. I wonder, and I think that probably the C8 will be the same. I think in the long run, the ZR1 obviously will be way faster, but I think people will probably resonate towards the Z06 more.
And I think you could probably kind of similarity, whatever you want to put it, GT350 versus GT500.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think that's a good take. Yeah, I've seen way more GT350s in ours at the track than the GT500s. I felt like the people who bought the GT500, and I'm speaking generally, I'm not singling anybody out. They bought it because not only because they could afford it, but because they thought like the number 500 is like more than the number 350. Therefore, there must be the better Mustang, without understanding like they're kind of almost, it's the same platform, but they're like two different types of car.
I have a couple friends that track their 500s, but they leave them for mostly stock, just wheels and tires and maybe some different brakes.
And they're fast, yeah?
And they are fast. Brian, he's insanely fast.
Like what's a firm time for a more or less?
I don't know what GT500 does going quicker than me at the firm. I'm not saying there isn't one. I don't know of one.
I'd have to ask Brian when he's not at the firm, but I know he's taking that car to VIR, Sebring, Roebling.
Yeah, the firm's a shit track for a high horsepower car. We all know.
Yeah, that. I don't. That's why I don't think I've ever timed myself at the firm because I just.
But it's fun though. Like,
yeah, it is fun
for me to talk shit and tell Mario I'm faster than him, and I've ran.
Most people get the 500s. Those engines pull
it's
boost.
fun. That was fun to say.
When your car was stock, you never went quicker than me, so I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, the only way to beat a Hellcat, from stoplight to stoplight, is get the 500. You know, that was the only.
10-speed automatic 5.0 will beat it on a roll.
Yeah. Hellcats are fast. They're fast. They're fast cars.
In a straight line, they're very fast.
They're very fast. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I'll tell you this: I do think the Z06 will also be my next car because I am so in love with my C8. Like, again, I loved my GT350, and I know that getting rid of that car will be, I don't want to call it a regret, but I miss it. I do miss it. I miss the rawness. Like, it had that it factor that's special.
We already regret it for you. Okay, so you don't have to regret it because we already do.
But here's the caveat though. I didn't drive my GT350 every day. I drove it once a month when I went to the track, if that. Like in the summer I was tracking very heavily. But like I've put my C8 today has 5,025 miles. And I've done that in 2.5 months. Like I've enjoyed this car way more than I enjoyed my GT350. And in my life, my dollar per mile value, I've already outdone that in the C8. And so from that aspect, I'm happy with what I did, but I know that, and I didn't feel this way until I heard Jason say this, that like specialness, it's missing that. It doesn't bother me that it's missing it, but I do want it, and I know I will get it with the Z06.
Is that why when you were talking about like driving, kind of feeling on rails and not giving you that driver experience, is that what you get, or something else?
No, because this car, like again, I've done two days at the firm and what I did at AMP, but it's more like when
It's a GT car. It's a
sports car that doesn't feel like there's anything above what I want. But again, I know that I could find that, like, again, tires and aero and do all these things, or I'll just buy that Z06, Z07 package and it'll have everything that I want.
Yeah.
It has everything that my car has that I love about it, plus that extra it factor. So I think Jason put it the best way. What's that?
I said I love the it factor.
Yeah.
Cars that have the it factor, you can't measure it on a stopwatch. You can't measure it on a lap time. It's just something you feel.
Yep, that's a great way to put it.
So speaking of Corvettes right now, I don't want to burst anyone's bubble here, but I just wanted to let you guys know they are not making them as of this time, right? It looks like production has paused. And I just want to speculate real quick on the big rumor. Do you guys know what's coming with this shutdown?
I don't. I haven't heard. This is the first
I will
time.
let you tell it. I've read some stuff, but I'll let you tell it.
Okay, and obviously I'm not some expert, and I don't have any secret ins at Chevy or GM or anything.
News.
Oh yeah, breaking. Yeah. Okay, so here it is. I think that we are about to get the Grand Sport. Now, you guys know probably, the Grand Sport is the base model engine with the suspension and a little bit wide body from the Z06 or something. Are any of you guys interested in the Grand Sport?
I will say no.
No, because of to me, the only step up is the Z06. Like, from where I'm standing. Like, the Grand Sport wouldn't be an upgrade to me.
In the current market, so you're basically getting the E-Ray without the hybrid system.
Yeah, that's right.
Why would you, or you're basically putting the LT2 in a Z06 body. Why would you do that?
Why would you do that? And I know people that have recently bought Grand Sports of C6s and C7s.
Because those were great. You got the Z06 body, and specifically with the C7, you didn't deal with the supercharged engine. You got the NA
City.
Yeah. Like that, the C7 Z06, or C7
Grand Sport. Well, what about the C6? I mean, that's not anything different, right? That's just wide body with brakes, right?
And it had the more reliable engine. The LS7 was notorious for.
Yeah.
Well, you do the heads on the thing and you call it a day. I mean,
but yeah,
if you catch it in time.
I think if they would have done this, like, around the time that the Z06 came out, it could have been a thing. But now that the E-Ray is there, and now that the ZR1's coming, and they've made 15,000 Z06s, like, it just makes
there's no room for it unless
sense.
you're just going to kill off the Stingray completely.
Yeah, I don't know. Apparently, there's some interior changes and maybe some little tweaks here and there. But
now you have 3 cars with the same looking body.
Well, I mean, that just
that right there. It looked. I mean, it. I know
the good news.
To me, it looked like an E-Ray.
The reason they may be doing this, if they are doing this, is because C8 sales have been through the roof. I mean, they have sold probably as many of these as Honda has sold Civics. It's crazy.
And what's it competing with? As far as the American market, it's competing with a dark horse.
Right, it's competing with nothing.
Tunable. Yeah, no.
So, and it's also getting. We forget this car is going into its 5th year of production, which is crazy. Like, it's been out for a long time, and nothing outside of the Z06 and the ZR1 has really happened because the Stingray has been what it's been since day one. When they first came out, you could get a Z51. I'm pretty sure the only change from mine to, like, the first generation, like the 2020, is that my latch in the front is electronic, which it didn't have that to begin with. And I think there's, like, some cooling upgrades. Oh, and mine has Google Maps. The old ones you had to pay for navigation. Mine comes with Google Maps built in.
So you can drive to the Gulf of America.
Oof. Yeah,
I could drive to the Gulf of America.
Yeah. Oh.
I haven't looked, but I'm sure it's updated.
Yeah, you gotta look on it and send us a screenshot.
I will. Maybe we'll make
I don't know if it's updated. I don't know if it's updated in the Audi. I'll have to look.
Oh well, better.
Yours probably says Gulf of Adolf or something. I don't know.
Yeah. You know, a car brand that I love is Audi. I'm getting new rims for the SQ8.
Because you haven't had to deal with the timing chains on it.
Because all my shit's new. Do you want to see?
Why don't you get an R8 Cup car?
We talked about it.
God, I like that so much better for you.
I mean, I'm down. Are they fast?
They're like the same. That's a V10. Who cares if they're fast?
It's a baby Lambo.
Yeah, true. I'm going to share my screen. This is a mock-up of the rims that I'm getting for the SQ8.
I can't see them.
They're black.
They're black. Well, here, let me try.
So I hate to tell you this, but they look.
Those are Titan 7s. I mean,
Yeah,
they
but
look
Titan,
almost identical to Titan 7s.
but it's not Titan 7 price. So, going through VT Forged again, gloss black.
I'm surprised you didn't get matching ones for the green car, like
It's
the
pretty.
bronze.
I mean, it's close. I mean, it's pretty close to the same wheel. Here's a plug also. VT Forged for wheels. Great prices, super good to work with.
How much was that set of wheels? Ballpark?
What's that?
How much was that set of wheels? Ballpark?
For 22 by 10.5s, they were $3,200.
That's
Fully
not terrible.
forged.
Definitely.
I mean, my car has fully forged wheels out of the factory, but whatever.
Your wheels don't look as good as those ones, though, Mario.
No, they look better.
Let's do a drop test, and because that's how everybody tests everything.
Yeah, I got the wheel and tire package.
Let's hit those at a curb at the firm and see how they hold up.
Well, if they ever reopened it,
they fixed that curb. Okay, they fixed it.
Yeah.
Okay, then the pavement dip on the left side coming into turn 1.
That I'll never hit. I know somebody who split a wheel in half there.
Oh, I've hit that.
Yeah.
In my stock 350 wheels, which I just sold.
Those are good. Those are solid cast iron.
No, it cracked and bent it. I had them fixed.
Oh, it did? Oh, shit.
Yeah. I tested them at 130 miles an hour to verify that there was no vibration. Absolute wheel repair in Orange City. Got it done.
There we go.
There we go. Awesome, guys. We're a little over the hour mark. Is there anything else we want to cover? Anything else we want our guests to talk about? Or are we going to call it a night?
This was awesome. Time flew by.
Well, it was quick.
It went quick. And thank you guys for your patience. For those of you watching, they waited for me for like 20 minutes. I'm usually chasing them around and waiting for them to respond when we're going to do this. So I guess it's only fair. But here we are.
We left no stone unturned today. This was our best podcast ever.
I think so.
Anything that the viewers want questions answered to, put them in the comments, and that will be content for the future podcasts.
Yes, we will.
Subscribe to the DriverMod on YouTube.
Subscribe to the Another Car channel.
We will do, guys. Awesome, guys. Stay tuned for the next one. Everybody have a great night.
Mario, Courtney, Jason.
See you guys.
Bye now.